Okay, we are recording. It is Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025, and welcome to the Boulder Arts Commission meeting. I will call roll. Cheryl Cardoso,
Yes.
Maria Cole,
Yes.
Jeffrey Cash,
Present.
Jill Katzenberger,
Yes.
Caroline Kurt,
Yes.
Gaia Vinay,
Yes.
Yale Weil,
Present.
and I will now hand the meeting over to the chair to call the meeting to order.
Great, and we'll call to order the meeting of April 23rd, 2025, Boulder Arts Commission. Our first is our land acknowledgement. The city of Boulder acknowledges the city is on the ancestral homelands and unceded territory of indigenous peoples who have traversed, lived in, and stewarded lands in the Boulder Valley since time immemorial. Those indigenous nations include the Apache, Arapaho, Cheyenne, Comanche, Pawnee, Shoshone, Sioux, and Ute. The city of Boulder recognizes that those now living and working on these ancestral lands have a responsibility to acknowledge and address the past and must work to build a more just future. So we'll start with the approval of the agenda. If anybody would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Mass to add something?
Yes, please.
Can we get an update on Sundance from you, Lauren?
Sure, yeah, sure. Or
Listen, Matt, too, if you'd like to add anything today?
Great, we'll add that in, maybe matters from staff. Great. So with that amendment, let's do a motion again.
the motion to approve the agenda.
A second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. And approval of the March 2025 meeting minutes, which were in your packets. Need a motion for that.
I'll move to approve the March 2025 meeting minutes. Second.
Great, any adjustments to those? All in favor? Unanimous?
I have to abstain because I wasn't there.
Oh, great. Unanimous, other than Jeffrey
Yeah.
who abstains.
No,
and
I
still
also
voted.
abstained.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
2 abstentions. Great. Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody signed up for public participation? Nobody online?
If anyone online would like to speak at public participation, you may raise your hand now.
Hearing none, we'll move on to commission business. Back up to you.
Well, in my role as Director of Community Vitality, I've been the many honors that's bestowed upon me of swearing in new members of our boards and commissions. So Caroline, you're up first to reaffirm your oath of office. Would you like to sit here and just read it, or would you like me to read it through with it?
Whatever you want. I can read it.
Okay, then I am perfectly okay with that as well. You're welcome to hold up your hand, whatever makes you feel more confident.
Regal?
Or exactly.
Okay. I'll twirl my hair. No, I, Caroline Kurt, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Colorado and the charter and ordinances of the city of Boulder, and faithfully perform the duties of the office of a member of the Arts Commission, which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
On your reappointment. Here is a scrapbookable a certification of
Beautiful.
your membership.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yep.
right here. All right. Yeah, yes. I will move over here. Gaia. You are welcome to read it on your own, or I can walk you through it as well.
I too.
All right.
I, Gayatri Vinay, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and of the state of Colorado and the charter and ordinances of the city of Boulder, and faithfully perform the duties of the office of a member of the Arts Commission, which I'm about to enter.
All right, congratulations. Welcome to the commission.
Thank you.
Gaia, welcome while you're signing that on behalf of the
Thank
entire
you.
commission. And when I saw your interview questions, I was really impressed with how involved you already are and how well spoken you are. So we're excited to have you as an addition
Thank you.
to our
so much.
commission. We have a little bit of time in the agenda to go around and introduce ourselves to each other. And I can invite you to start and just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in commission and what you're
Sure.
excited about.
Sounds great. So my name is Gaia. Thank you to everybody who tried to pronounce my full name as Gayatri. I was very impressed at how accurate the pronunciation was. I moved here in 2019 from New York City after living there for almost 20 years. And I'm first and foremost a mom to 3 amazing children and partner to an entrepreneur who has a business in Boulder, a tech entrepreneur. And in my time, I work as a travel advisor. I invest in tech startups. I am on 2 different PTOs of public schools that my kids attend. I'm on the board of the Dairy Arts Center, and I run the women's committee with a friend at the Dairy Arts Center, which is a small group of women that fund the free rental space program at the dairy to nonprofits, and we raise money for that. I also host these monthly dinners for women at my house for to just connect and help especially people who are new to Boulder find community, which was a super hard thing for me to do moving here. It was really hard for me to find community, and I said to myself, that's never gonna happen to somebody who moves here. If they meet me, they will have friends. Even if I'm not gonna be their best friend, I'll make sure I find them 2 friends. So I do that, and I'm very excited to be here. I wanted to join the Arts Committee because one of the things that I think is great about Boulder is how, for such a small place, there's so many creative people who live here and thrive here and work here. And I think just as somebody in the community, I would always get questions like, oh my God, I didn't even know this event was happening. I had no idea this artist was performing. And I think it's super weird that people don't know these things about Boulder, and I don't know why it is. Is it because they don't have access? Is it because they're not interested? I don't know what the answer is. And so I just started creating these groups of people who are forced to come out with me to things and do things. And when I saw that there was this opportunity to really help out nonprofits and provide resources to them and be thoughtful about it with this group, I was excited to be.
Awesome, thank you. So, for the commissioners, if you can just, tell her a little bit about where you fit in the arts community and, if you have anything, what you're excited about being on the commission about. Maybe start with Mary.
I'm a vertical in architecture in Boulder. On the commission, I'm appointed to the board of MOCA, if you know that Harry as well has an appointed. And I'm also appointed as the liaison for the state house or committee, sorry.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Verdoza. I like chocolate. I wanted to join the commission because I've been part of the Boulder Arts community a long time ago, and I left town for about 12 years. I came back and I took my crash course and what had happened to Boulder creatively for those 12 years, and I'm still learning new things, but I'm continually impressed. And I did run programs for young people a long time ago, so now I can't be a mom. Awesome. I'm also, I guess, a member of the arts community a little bit because I'm a storyteller and stand up in the Listen to Your Mother show.
Hi, I'm Jill Katzenberger, Executive Director at Junkyard Social Club, which I know you and your family have visited. On the commission and founding a recent arts venue. I mean, it wouldn't be here honestly without the commission supporting us from the beginning and giving us a chance and getting grants before we really even had any, data to show what we could do. Especially when it was harder to get, bigger funding and national sources and foundations to believe in us. So I thank this group for that, and I wanted to be able to help support others, be able to make it work, because it's not easy, especially when you have 10,000 hurdles and other city bureaucracies to, overcome.
Hi, I'm Yaleed, my pronouns are they, he, and I'm a digital artist, and I'm also in like the queer, experimental DIY punk event scene. And I'm excited to be on the board to kind of foster community building and, foster spaces for weird innovative art.
Thank you.
And Guy and I know each other from the dairy, and the very first time I met her, she was effusive and physically embraced me. And I got to know her really fast, and so I was thrilled to be able to advocate for her as well as Caroline. With our city leaders, when it came to looking through the choices that we had for the new commissioners, and everyone in the room's actually met Gaia before, because she came here last March or April to speak on behalf of the dairy. So thank you for your continued support, and glad to have you on the team.
Thank you.
And Jeffrey is our co-chair, or vice chair, and I'm the chair. I'm Caroline Kurtz, and I'm an arts and entertainment attorney in town and really involved in the Burning Man community. So that's how I got involved in volunteering for the arts. I've been on a lot of different boards and helped to found the Phoenix Asylum, and so I'm really excited to just have a behind the scenes and deeper dive into the arts community in Boulder for a lot of the reasons that you were mentioning, like what's going on and who can I connect people with. And so, yeah. And let's have the staff introduce themselves really quickly too, just, what your role is.
Yeah, please, because there's
Yeah.
everybody here today. I'm Lauren, we've met. I'm Sarah, we'll go back that direction. Yeah.
Hi, Brendan Victoroni, I mean, as a public art program.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Rachel, we met
Yes.
earlier. Yeah,
Good to see you. Good short-term memory.
I'm Cindy Sapuka. I run programs for artists and venues.
Hi, I'm Matt Jazansky. I'm the senior manager with the Community Vitality Department, supporting the Office of Arts and Culture, the Office of Special Events, and our district vitality group.
Thanks, good to be listening to me. Thanks for breaking up.
I'm Ellie, I'm an operations specialist and board secretary, so I help manage and run the meetings, and I'm a point of contact for you as well.
And I'm Melissa Mazzani, an operations associate for a few meeting at time.
And Chris Jones, you met me
Yes.
at orientation. Nice to
Yes.
see you again. Very glad you're here.
Thank you. So this quiz.
Yes, there will
I
be.
remember everybody's name. I was in sales.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to matters from commissioners. Just to give you some context, we each have liaison roles in the community, and those will get reassigned in June. That's I think. So you'll have an opportunity to pick up some of these organizations that get general operating support from the commission. And then we also have some committees that we have created to do some work outside of the meetings, and that also will do some exploration of whether there's something that you'd be interested in working on as a sort of a side project for policy stuff. So we're gonna do our liaison updates right now. If anybody has an update they'd like to present.
Well, I just came from the Visit Boulder, board meeting, but, we had it offsite. It's as a celebration. So everyone there, as you can imagine, is feeling very gratified and excited. And recently got a much bigger to-do list. But yeah, we just talked about exciting things that are coming, so. I said, I'm joining the board like right after that, even like completely take credit. And Great Boulder Youth Orchestra had their fundraiser last night. I have not yet heard how it went. Tell you next one.
Cheryl, can you talk more, kind of high level as to what Charlene and the Visit Boulder, what they were doing as part of the Sundance, bid to really kind of make that happen, because I'm not sure everyone here might be aware of that.
And I'm not even sure I fully understand the scope, but there are convention and visitors bureau center. I'm familiar, and so they put in the bid, they talked to the Sundance people, they got hotels on board, they talked to venues there, and there's some exciting things, I mean. I'll wait till things happen, but there's some exciting things that are gonna happen to venues that are gonna benefit all the creatives in Boulder. So,
I want folks to understand that Visit Boulder was one of the catalysts.
yeah, yeah, they made it happen. They called Charlene. And gave her the news. She thought they were gonna call about 10 in the morning, they called at 7:30, so she was like,
Oh, my.
they're like, are you awake? She's like, as long as you don't want to FaceTime. So, very exciting.
BMOCA's moving forward with the programming for their new building, so hopefully programming and concept design will be done by September-ish. What is programming? Means deciding what spaces you want in the building, how big they are, and their basic adjacencies, what they need to be. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you.
Museum of Boulder recently had an opening of a new exhibit celebrating the history of LGBTQ rights and those that were at the forefront of it in Boulder and Boulder County specifically. The governor was there and a lot of other elected officials, and it was a very, very nice opening for this event. It was filled. That was also the same night as the opening for the Boulder International Film Festival, which I saw you gave an update. Someone gave an update on the ticket
She gave
sales
an update on my.
on last month, so thank you for doing that. Last night I got to see Yehuda at the Dairy Center, which is a Ukrainian folk traditional rock band that just filled the hall, and we were the only stop in Colorado on their North American tour. It was mind-blowingly good. Local theater company has a short play festival this coming weekend up at the Nomad. We're going to the Friday event. I was a guest of the deputy executive director for the CBCA yesterday down in Denver. Got to see a lot of regional arts and business leaders there. Is anyone else attending CCI out in Grand Junction next weekend? Okay, yay, then I will represent the actual commission at that convention. I've never been to that this year, and it's literally a trains, planes, and automobile trip. I'm flying out there, I'm renting a car while I'm there because I missed the hotel block and I'm taking the train back, so. Orlando had their spring gala recently and it sold out right away. I haven't heard the numbers on the success of it, but I know they've got a lot of support there. And that's what I got for you.
I spoke to Third Law Dance and they just finished 3 shows at the Dairy. And their pre-COVID numbers are coming up. Pre-COVID they had 4 performances. Now they had 3, and the houses were still only at about 80%. So they're still working to come back up to those numbers. But they did share that for this show, they had a ton of dancers on stage. They had 8 or 9 additional local dancers that they brought in addition to their 10 company members. So they were really excited about that. And then also really ambitious list of grants that they're going for, including their first NEA grant, which is submitted now, but they're very grateful to get support from the state and local levels. So they thanked us again for that. And then I spoke to the Samba School, and they have a lot of sessions scheduled for over the summer. And the main thing is that they've got a festival going on in August, and that's moving forward really well. They're going to be doing it at the band shell. And we talked a lot about the difficulties that they're having getting venues. They are saying they have to book a year in advance coming back from the pandemic. So we talked about 2A, the questions about that. And then also I referred them to you. I don't know if you spoke to them, but, just voicing concerns about people who tend to come to their performances and what to do as an arts organization if there is an ICE response at one of the performances. They have a Cinco de Mayo presentation in one month, so they're concerned, you know? So I don't know, if we're able to connect them with resources or. Did you want to practice?
Sure, yeah, one of my board members, Marina McGraw, helped us print out in Spanish, small cards that folks can carry around in their wallets that essentially they can hand over to an ICE agent that recognizes their rights. And my understanding is if you can say that an event is private, you do not have to let them in. If it's a public space, you can let them in, but what we've been doing at the junkyard is anytime we've been hosting immigrant events is designating a specific space as private. So that if somebody came, somebody in the front could intercept and clarify that that space is a private event and that they can't be admitted access.
That's amazing. Do you mind if I put them in contact with you? That would be super helpful.
Carla Collin, Colin, would also be a good contact as well, and she's the executive director for the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Boulder County. She's probably a great contact to get to.
Wonderful, thank you. Anybody else? Thanks.
I don't actually have any from my liaisons. The thing that I got updates wise was from Lemon Sponge Cake that they were excited to announce their new website. But on Thursday, I'm going to a film screening for a independent film called Comparsa that's produced by some of the folks that were involved in Chasing Coral and Social Dilemma. So that's cool and exciting, and they're still in their kind of like final screening before final edits phase, so who knows, probably before Sundance, but connected. And then, yeah, I'll also plug a junkyard thing that I'm excited about. On May 2nd, we're hosting our third Smash the Patriarchy event, which raises funds for reproductive health and Mr. Alto's Safe House. But we smash up a car in the alley, punk bands, drag show, and then it's also on Beltane, so there's going to be a fire ceremony, but Goddess Beltane's fertility, it's love, it's so kind of a moment of healing as well. But it feels like something that many community members need right now, so.
I went last year, it's amazing, it's
Amazing.
so fun.
Incredible.
May 2nd,
Nice.
yes.
That's Friday.
This next
Was
Friday.
the Friday before listen to another.
Are you pulling something up for Shamita?
No, yeah, no immediate ones, I'm waiting
Okay.
to hear back, so I'll let
Okay.
y'all know what I know.
Okay, great. All right, let's move on to updates on our commission work items or committees, if there's anything new from your committee that you'd like to share. And I'll just preface by saying that Jeffrey and I did not meet this, month, so we will do that. We'll
We
do
were
better
busy,
next month.
we did see each other last
We
Friday.
did, we did.
She was a celebrity host at a fundraiser for the Zonta Foothills Foundation at the Dairy Center, where we raised $55,000 at the Gordon Gam Theater for this great organization last Friday.
Who supports women and girls and
Civic engagement.
sustainability, and yeah, really great organization. And celebrity that I didn't even know that I knew, Ida Bagel, was there as the MC. So that was wonderful. And the kids were extremely talented. It was just really cool all around. Anybody else on community updates?
I'm just gonna acknowledge that I think I gave myself the to-do to share directly the spreadsheet that I was working on grants with everybody in the commission to be able to plug in things that they knew about that I didn't have in there, and I did not do that. So I'm making a note to myself to follow up on that, now that I'm solo on that particular task item. And then I think I'll make a second tab that would be any potential contacts with foundations that could help support. So I will follow up on that.
Thank you for the collaboration.
Maria, how are you feeling in terms of Georgia not being on the commission? Do you feel like there's a gap there now with
I think
you?
we should, I mean, it's good to have someone to bounce it off of, and you're also solo too on your, initiative. So we can team up on our two initiatives. Going around. My initiative is, reconsidering the land acknowledgement. And how we can, better integrate that or be. So we have a kind of side workers.
I will email you both. Yeah. So you have the name.
Okay, so maybe the three of us will work
Yeah,
through how to
That's great.
collaborate.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to grants program with Sarah.
Thank you. While Lauren's pulling up that PowerPoint, I'd just like to follow up on a commission item from last meeting, where y'all laid in Georgia requested that a calendar be made for events that we fund through our programs. And we are not able to do that on our website, but I reached out to Boulder County Arts Alliance and they're gonna create a special tag that says like BAC funded, so it'd be easy to search.
Oh, nice.
That's really
Oh,
good.
wonderful. Thank you.
All right, next slide, please. Up first, we have our general operating support decisions. As a reminder, this is 1-year funding for new applicants as we work on the Boulder Arts Blueprint. The panelists have submitted their final scores and it is now up to the commission to give final approval. Caroline, you were in the panel meeting. Is there anything you want to say about that process?
No, I pretty much shared at the last meeting, but for those who missed it, it was really impressive gathering of arts professionals. Just really extensive knowledge on how grants operate, how they read grants, how to score grants, things that they would improve about our grant system. I mean, very, very thoughtful, great conversation. And I know that they had one very brief meeting that I wasn't able to make, where they just got things done very quickly and made some decisions about which options they were gonna suggest to us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and thank you for your time to the audience. All right, next slide. Oh, sorry, I guess I'll read the options. So the commission can approve all grants per the panel's recommendation, approve individual grants while submitting specific questions, or postpone approval of individual grants pending the answers to specific questions. And this is the breakdown. The panelists base their recommendation as equitable as possible in terms of % chance of receiving a grant in each tier, given the available funding that we have.
Sarah, will you remind me of the budget number that crosses somebody from large and back to large?
1 million
Okay, and that's
revenue, annual revenue.
annual revenue, so that. I mentioned this last month, so I was thinking about it, so that includes earned revenue and contributed revenue?
Yes. But not in kind.
And we had the question at the last meeting about whether we would expand that to be the budget.
Right.
And it is not the budget, it's the actual revenue.
All right, thanks. So up first is grant decisions on general operating support grants in the extra large category. We only had 1 application in this tier. Again, commissioners have the option to approve the grant for the panel's recommendation, approve individual grants while submitting specific questions, or postpone approval of individual grants pending the answer to specific questions. And these options will come up for every tier, so I might just do shorthand for subsequent tiers, if that's okay with everything. So this is the application up for approval. And next slide, please.
I'll move the Roots Music Project Foundation be awarded a general operating support grant. I'll second.
Any discussion about this?
Have they ever applied for GOS support in the past? Okay. If for some reason, rather than an extra large, if they'd have just come in as a large, if their revenue hadn't been more than $1 million, they wouldn't have received a grant based on the scoring. If they'd have come in as a medium size, they would not have received a grant based on their scoring. Has anyone had a chance to look at the overall scores from everyone?
I did, but I did notice that nuance. Did
Yeah.
you have that on the slide?
They would have made it had they been a medium size, sorry, a small one, but their score was lower than the lowest score that had received a grant in both the medium and the large.
I can offer that in the meeting, it was a very specific topic of conversation as to what scheme would be recommended to us. Do you want to go over very briefly, like, the different options that were looked at? Because that was one way that they were looking at it. In terms of where are we gonna, which lines are we going to recommend? Is it gonna be top-down score only? Is it gonna be equitable? Is it gonna be?
Yeah, exactly. I think there was discussion of whether there would be a minimum score threshold for award or whether it would be based on percentage chance. Ultimately, this is what they have recommended that the commission vote on tonight.
Right.
Certainly, I think they did take into account that they were not trying to compare apples to oranges, so I think perhaps they might have scored an organization like stricter in a larger category perhaps, but that's a question that definitely can be posed to the panel or to the applicant.
Yeah, because I just look at the number of 55,000, that's exactly the number of two large grantee awards and one medium award. All three put together.
And certainly it's the commission's prerogative to pose questions to the panel about their recommendation and postpone.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, I just thought the numbers were interesting, I just didn't know if anyone else had seen that. And it's just because there was no other competition at that particular category.
I noticed that as well, and one of the things that stuck out to me was that their contributed income was much higher than their earned revenue. I love Roots, but bringing in 700,000 in contributed income last year, and so as part of it was like 55K going to them over these organizations that are not bringing in that amount, perhaps through private donors and things like that. That just struck me as something worth noting.
And I think that if that's something that we're recommending to become part of, they use the same criteria that we do, and it's not part of the criteria right now that we look at. So if that is something that's like popping out as people, that might be part of the conversation for how to work on the rubric.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do we know why we have more applicants in that category? Is that something you care about? One like that.
I mean, certainly a lot of them were funded in the recertification process. But
I would imagine to have a operating budget that large, it's like this is a newer organization that has expanded to that, which, you know, close to the same age as mine, but we don't bring in nearly that number of contributed. Our earned revenue is about the same, but we're in a completely different tier or a different.
Anything you want to say about that? The very legible numbers on the screen.
I had a lot of fun putting that together.
I can zoom in. I was
Yeah.
just pulling up your.
This is highlighting the awards and what they've recommended.
This was in your packet, or in the commission packet I went out to.
What does encouragement, what is that specific thing?
So that's a part of the rubric where you'll get an additional point if you are a first-time applicant or you have not been awarded a competitive grant for us before.
Yeah, those are two of the criteria, there's a
Culturally,
couple other.
linguistically diverse, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, so any other discussion? We have a motion on the table. All in favor? Of approving. All opposed? All opposed? Motion carries.
Oh my God, sorry.
Well, the next action item is large organization. And the same options apply. Slide, please. These are the large organizations that apply, again, based on wanting to have an equitable chance of award. These are the ones that have been recommended by the commission based on scoring from the Boulder Arts Commission rubric.
I should know those, but what's the overall average possible?
36. Next
What
one,
was Rick's score?
27 point.
28, 27. Where's Ken?
I'll also note that as staff, we are working on requesting more funding.
I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'll also say that as staff, we are working on requesting more funding for this grant.
Thank you.
How do you request more?
Big.
Siblings.
To answer the question, there's a process with the city twice a year that city departments. Sorry, I'm Matt Jazansky for the recording. Hello. City departments go through a process called adjustment to base, where requests are made to fulfill obligations and change budgets. And so this would just be a part of the normal standard adjustment to base cycle.
Thank you.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move that A's Arts, Culture, and Education at the Boulder JCC, Ministers Foundation, DBA Kutanara, excuse me, and the new local be awarded general operating support.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
What does DBA mean?
Doing
Business
business
as.
as,
Ah,
Thank you.
I should make an acronym book for working in.
yeah.
DDA, BID.
Yeah.
All right, hearing no discussion, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Next up is mid-side organizations. Again, same options. And next slide, please. These are the total number of mid-size applications that applied, and the panel is recommending that to be funded today based on the available funding that we have at this moment. Next slide, please.
Motion? Nobody wants to take the Spanish on?
That's exactly. I'm not kidding right
I took French, but I moved that La Latinidad. How's that?
Yeah.
I did study. DBA be Shotley and the Cultural Caravan be awarded general operating support grant.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this one?
A question going backwards.
Yeah.
Sorry, some processing in slow motion. But the panel could have certainly have requested a different mix of awards, right? They didn't have to award in every category. I feel like we asked that in the previous meeting. So they did not have to get an award in every category.
No.
And so these are their recommendations.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Great, unanimous, thank you.
Thank you. And finally, small organizations. Next slide, please. We had 10 total applications from small organizations. The panel is at this time recommending 4 for award.
Guess I'll just say that I observed there were a lot of applications focused on concert, symphony, orchestra related programming.
Mhm.
So, it'll be competitive in that category.
was talking with Sarah about this earlier, and it was just more of a question, is that some of them seem very small and very reliant on this funding. And what does it mean just year after year? What is their plan? Because they don't get the funding next year, does it mean that they go away because 1/3 of the funding comes from the Arts Commission? And some of them don't even have full-time staff, so it's just more questions, because how is the sustainability of that organization if there's nobody there running the ship, because everybody has, you know, the economy's in mouth and everybody has things to do, and
One of the
What
things that we do look at is on an annual basis, they have to file reports. And that includes updates on their financial situation and staffing changes and things like that. So it is something that we look at every year, and reapprove them for the next year. And we have had organizations that we had questions about. And I think that we even sort of withheld the funding until we got answers about their sustainability. So definitely.
Yeah, there's not been a lot of consolidation in that space in quite some time. Also, this is kind of a 1 year only filling in for folks that weren't part of this particular GOS support like 3 or 4 years ago. So they hadn't received this before. Actually, none of these have. So this is now bringing in 1, 2, 3, 10 new organizations into this program that weren't part of it before, which is actually really exciting.
You can hopefully help. Lay the groundwork to build more sustainability.
All right, any more discussion on this motion?
I move the Community Roots Arts Festival, Society for Creative Aging doing business as Viva Theater, Boulder Showing Up for Racial Justice, and Flatirons Community Orchestra be awarded general operating support grants.
Second.
Great. And all in favor? Great. And I'll just throw out a thank you to the committee. I mean, there were a lot of good applications as always, and I mean, when you guys have your chance to sit in, you're gonna see like, the level of thoughtfulness that is going into these discussions. It was really impressive. And I feel like they're in good hands, the decision. And couldn't have asked for a stronger group of people to be making that. All right. Grant reports.
Yes, we have one grant report, arts education. Of Luna Cultura. And thank you, Lauren, for translating the narrative for me. And next slide, please. Oh, and to clarify, this is a report for a 2024 application.
is there a time frame within which from them receiving the grant to submit a report?
Yes, there's a like start date, which is effectively when they're awarded, and then end date that's listed in the application that a project can't extend beyond that unless they request an extension.
And then the report's due a month after the project is completed, so they set it in their application.
I moved that the report by Luna Cultura be approved.
Second that?
Any discussion? And for your benefit also, that a portion of their grant amount is withheld until the report is finalized, and then 20% is pending this decision.
And that's with all.
Yeah.
All grants.
Some are like general operating support is awarded completely upfront. So it does depend, but.
In
Arts-
hand all checks, yeah.
Oh, I like the report. I thought, well, for $3,000 or it was 3,100, whatever, it was, I thought they had a tremendous amount of outreach. I like the diversity of the group they were outreaching to. I love seeing, of course, little kids doing textiles, but also there was young teens, and so I thought it was a really nice outreach, and I thought it was a nice project.
Yeah, good numbers, lots of welcome partners.
I loved when the application came across, and so it was even better to see the report afterwards.
Yeah. I was surprised they said that nobody filled out their survey, but then they had 65 responses, and I was like, man, that's good. That seems
Yeah.
pretty good. And so I would be, just as a follow-up, curious to see if they have a summarization of that, because I missed it, but I didn't see.
I think it was, wasn't it in the Spanish version?
Oh, I didn't even look at the Spanish.
Yeah, the English translation didn't have all the.
Okay, I'll go back and
Graphs.
look. We don't have to ask then. I'll just fumble through that. Cool. Any other discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
All right, and this is exciting. The Spark Performing Arts Community approached us, and they would like to be part of our fee waiver program. So they are proposing 12 fee waivers a year. Applicants can apply to up to 2 fee waivers per year, and they will prioritize events around Boulder Arts Week or things that we want to promote. So
How many venues is it in total that we have doing?
so E-Town now offers a fee discount, and then Roots Music Project and the Matthew Auditorium. Oh, sorry, yeah, we can,
I move that we approve the adoption of the Spark fee waivers into the Boulder Arts Commission grants program.
Second that?
And I'm assuming that this is just gonna be the same format, but it's staff approval. Great. All in favor? Thank you, Sarah,
thank you.
Thank you.
and we'll move to Rachel and Brendan.
It's like Superman 3.
There's not any.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you again. I've been working on the experiments in public art program. Last time I talked to you, I was working on a public art audit, so same person, different project. And I'm gonna tell you about the Boulder Valley Community or Comprehensive Plan update, because we had a call for entry open. I'll tell you about the call for entry, I'll tell you about the finalists, and then I'll bring you recommendation. Brendan's my audio visual supporter. And then I'll bring you a motion to approve the project. So the overview, the Boulder Valley Comprehensive Plan is creating a community assembly. So they're gathering 48 people that they've chosen by random to come together and talk about issues that are important for the comprehensive plan. So they're specifically focusing on 15-minute neighborhoods, which is a planning concept where from where you live, you can either walk or ride a bike and get everything you need within 15 minutes. So we're trying to infuse a planning process, which is pretty jargon heavy and pretty traditionally reaches a specific group of people, and we're trying to add art to it to help it reach new people and to help people understand the planning process in a way that's more creative and less planner speak is the way I describe it. So here's the goal of the call: to interpret and translate the outcomes of the process to foster a deeper understanding of the assembly and what was recommended by the members. Here's a little bit about the metrics. It's a $20,000 budget. We expect this person to start working on their project in May, which is around the corner. And the city staff went through all of the 2018 applications. And then the standing public art selection panel helped us identify the finalists. So here's the review criteria. We thought it was really important that this person have, if they don't necessarily live or work in Boulder, but they have a connection to Boulder. That they understand sort of the context of Boulder, because this is a comprehensive planning process. It's not just a temporary public art sculpture that's gonna live somewhere for 6 months. It's really gonna help to affect the future of Boulder in a bigger sort of planary way. And we were really interested in them having a community engagement component to their practice as well. So the planning department, the community engagement department have really done a lot of work on the outreach for the comprehensive plan. And so we wanted the artist to sort of be able to dovetail with that nicely and be able to talk to the community, to bring the community in and then do their project and also communicate that back out to community. And we also wanted them to really be aware of and be able to articulate what the impact of their project would be. And so we had 3 finalists. And those were, drum roll. Jenna Clemon offered a project that she called Mended Ground, and essentially it was a concept related to community created mosaic. So she offered an idea where community members could bring in pieces of pottery or porcelain from their own personal collection or something from their family. And then she would create a mosaic. She talked about a walkway between neighborhoods that would be a mosaic that would sort of memorialize the community assembly project through a mosaic on the ground. She was from Denver. And then we looked at a project from Machiko Thurer, and she proposed tin can telephones. And so the idea here was that there would be a physical installation, albeit temporary, and then audio files or audio recordings of people talking about their neighborhoods and talking about what a 15-minute neighborhood would look like. And so you could listen to this on your digital phone as well as walking through and sort of get a sense of what a 15-minute neighborhood would sound like or would feel like if you could walk through and find 15-minute neighborhoods. And then this is an audio clip. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear it, but we'll see. It's super light anyway, but essentially these are. Let me see if I can fast forward it. So essentially in this space, Machiko.
So you mute it and then you unshare and you reshare, you check the box that says share by audio. And then it'll come through the owl speaker like the other video.
I think it's okay. I mean, it's super light audio anyway. Essentially, these people are interacting with sound devices that are within the bowls on this table, and they're offering sounds to each other. So it's an offering table, but it's sound recordings. So this isn't exactly what she was proposing. This is an example of her past work. And so tin can telephones would be a way for people to record their ideas about a 15-minute neighborhood, offer it to community members, and there can be an exchange back and forth in a way. Whoop. Okay, and then last we had Becky Waring Steele and Shannon Geis. They proposed a project that they describe as personal geographies. And so this project is a combination of sculpture and audio recordings, and those recordings would be stories about place. So the visual here is an example of personal geographies where they created a bust. Within the bust, on the center photo there within the bust, there's like a miniature, it's like a diorama. And so you can look through the eyes of these sculptures and see the space. And then within the headphones, there's the audio recording of the person talking about this space. And so you get a chance to not only see it, but also hear the storytelling around what that space is that they've done before. So those were the 3 finalists. Oh wait, here's a video from Becky and Shannon. So this audio isn't coming through at all, not really sure why, but there's a voiceover happening to describe this person telling a story about how when they were kids, they would take an RV from one place in Alaska to another place in Alaska. And the visual you're seeing is the actual miniature rendition of that RV as somebody is telling the story of what it was like to be on the floor and how warm it was and the rumbling of the RV and what it meant to be watching her parents drive. Really fun, huh? So here's an overview of the panelist feedback. Each column is an artist and then pros and cons are listed top to bottom here. Jenna Clement had really robust engagement. She really knew how to speak to community, bring people together, offer them an opportunity to have a piece of their own life or an object that they inherited or that has been in their family line of presence in community in a more temporarily or permanent way. But the panel also believed the connections to the goals of the call were a little bit weak. There wasn't really a lot of input or concept related to the 15-minute neighborhoods, and so that felt a little lacking for them. And there were also legitimate concerns around the feasibility of a semi or permanent mosaic in terms of timeline, in terms of permitting, in terms of it snows a lot here and concrete breaks really easily, and then you have a trip hazard. That kind of stuff. Machiko Thur got a lot of really good points for compelling concept. People really liked the tin can telephones. It felt whimsical, it felt fun, it felt possible for people to engage. And the group also thought that audio was an appropriate medium for accomplishing the goals of the call, to help people memorialize the process and also what the community assembly members are recommending. Again, concerns around the feasibility of a temporarily sited physical components. The audio components seemed really fragile. And so to put them outside in a tin can telephone didn't really seem possible. We got nervous about that. And then Becky and Shannon had really good points for strong alignment with the goals of the call, feasibility, and compelling concept that includes audio. So there were no cons, so one guess as to the finalists. So the selection panel recommended Becky and Shannon. Questions? Lauren?
Maria was on the selection panel. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I think this community assembly process is very progressive. I mean, having gone to a lot of community meetings in a lot of cities, and I think then adding an artist to it, I think is, this is a really big moment, I think, for Boulder. It's a great process. And I think this artist will really engage with the community members. And if I recall, this is a tangent, but aren't the folks that are selected to be in the community, aren't they given a stipend as well? Did I understand that right?
Yeah, probably. I
Yeah,
would
I
imagine.
think that, so I think just everything about this community process, I think that helps have broader outreach, and I think including the artist enhances that, and I think this artist is gonna do a great job.
How many applications were there?
Total, there were 21. The call is only open for 4 weeks, so I feel like that was a really good number, given how short the timeline was and how specific it is.
Yeah.
You know, like community engagement related to a planning project for Boulder is like it's a really narrow.
I messaged you about it, because I sent it to a couple of people that seem to have a hard time wrapping their head around.
It's pretty abstract. Yeah. Yeah, and the second one that's coming up too is also abstract, but what I love about this is that it's experiments in public art. Like, we're really pushing the boundaries of what public art is known to do, and so that's what's exciting to me about it, and all the community engagement parts of it too, so.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the proposed, like, where is it gonna be presented? Is it gonna be in libraries, these sculptures, or?
TBD.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of what we have to figure out. The first step for the artist is gonna be to submit a project plan. So there's gonna be one exhibition of the piece. It's gonna be indoor, but we're still working out what the venue is and when that's gonna be.
I should add another layer of sensitivity. I asked, something about folks that don't want their, opinion or, you know, voiced. And as I understand it, in the meetings of different color tags. So like whatever, yellow tag or blue tag. So if you don't want to be photographed, you have a certain tag. And so I just feel like there's a really heightened sensitivity and progressiveness to this whole process.
It's a really fun piece of art. What happens if somebody sticks piece of gum on it or like breaks? So, you know, do we fix it? Like who's responsible for fixing it?
Well, I think the answer there is that they'll probably be supervised. They're probably not gonna be in a place where you can get to them and do whatever you want. Like if we had them in the library or the Tate building, is that right? Then there's people there all the time, and so it will be. And because they're, like personally interactive, right? Like you have to sit down, look into the eyes. If they make the busts, like they use as an example, we're not sure exactly what the final form will be, but it's probably not something that's gonna be in a rambunctious place. It's probably gonna be in a quiet place with supervision for that reason.
Are they permanent exhibits?
No, it's all temporary. Okay.
Anybody like to make a motion?
I move that the process was properly conducted and the selected artist team for the experiments in public art, the EVCP update, Becky Waring Steele and Shannon Geis be recommended to the city manager for approval.
I think.
Any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Thank you,
Unanimous.
Maria, for being on that.
Yeah.
committee.
It was fun. It
Thank
was
you.
really interesting.
Really fun.
Thank you for reporting back. I have to run to my next event.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
Important.
Yeah.
Congrats.
We'll see you
Because
again.
separate cars is the case.
Oh, gosh.
So, thank you, everyone. Good seeing you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, please.
Do you want to talk about it?
They want to talk about it?
Do you want to say something as we send it around?
Yeah, so the previous project, thank you, Vanna White. The previous project for experiments in public art related to the Boulder Valley Comprehensive Plan was an illustrator named Cal Bracken, who we identified to do illustrations of a lot of really complicated planner speak. And he made illustrations that the city has created a children's book out of, and that's what Caroline's holding, and we'll send around. And I haven't seen it in person, so it's very exciting.
Very cool.
There's a Spanish version. So I just.
I want to actually read it, but I'm gonna send it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give a quick update on our Experiments in Public Art lecture series, which kicks off next month. And Maria, if you have any comments at the end you'd like to add, please do so. So the process overview, last fall, the idea for an Experiments in Public Art lecture series was approved by the Standing Selection Panel, which includes Maria. The Standing Selection Panel created an invitational process and invited 21 local and national artists to apply to be part of the lecture series to take place in summer 2025. The lecture will cover their art practice and includes a slideshow. 5 artists responded to the invitational, all with a socially engaged art practice. All 5 were accepted and invited to create a proposal by the selection panel. And all lectures will take place at the Boulder Main Library branch in the Canyon Auditorium and include a temporary installation or community workshop. So our first artist is Ana Maria Hernando from Denver, Colorado. She will hold 2 lectures, one on Saturday, May 10th from 6 to 8 p.m. and one on Wednesday, May 21st from 5 to 7 p.m. Her lecture is about her public art practice and the intersection of femininity and the built environment. She will also include an art installation, a temporary art installation called Fervor, which will be installed in the conoid atrium of the library for the month of May. Molly Gambarella is from New Haven, Connecticut, and she will also have 2 lectures, one on Saturday, June 28th from 2 to 3 p.m. and one on Sunday, June 29th from 3 to 4 p.m. Her lecture is about climate change and the use of recycled materials in art making. She will also include a temporary art installation of her large scale. These flowers are 7 and 8 feet tall. So she will also include an installation of her large scale recycled flowers around the library for that weekend. Francesca Rodriguez, Sawaya, and Renata Gao from New York City We'll also have two lectures, one on Thursday, July 31st from 6:30 to 8:30 PM, and one on Saturday, August 2nd from 11:30 AM to 1:30 PM. And then following the second lecture, there'll be a panel discussion with local fiber artists. And their lecture is about the intersection of weaving and computer coding. They will also include an interactive AR and VR activity for the attendees to the lectures. And we're finalizing the details for the fiber art panel discussion. We also have Sarah and Joseph Belknap from Chicago, Illinois. They will have a lecture on Sunday, August 10th from 1:30 to 4 PM. And then a full moon art making workshop at the Sunrise Amphitheater in open space that evening from 8 to 10 PM. Their lecture is about their art practice with found objects and community building. And like I said, they'll also have a community art making workshop under the full moon at the Sunrise Amphitheater. And then finally, to round it out, we have Beamer Torres from Aurora, Colorado. His lecture is on Sunday, September 28th from 12 to 2 PM. There will also be a community mural making workshop. We're finalizing those details. But his lecture is about his mural practice. He kind of came from street art and graffiti and is now doing large scale municipal mural projects. He will also hold a workshop with community members to design a mural, and then a community painting, like the community will actually help him paint the mural. So there's kind of three components to this project. And we're also going to collaborate with Streetwise Arts for this one. So any questions?
Is this something that could be added to the BCAA calendar?
Sure. Yeah, we want to promote, I mean, we have ads out Boulder Weekly. KGNU is gonna do some spots. We have a videographer who's been hired to kind of get B-roll of everything to create a quick 5-minute video at the end to kind of capture everything at the end. Yeah, we want to post this everywhere, so.
With our new tag. Yeah.
These are all fantastic artists that have, local notoriety as well as national notoriety. And I think this is a big deal that they're all coming here.
Yeah.
So it'd be great to make sure that all the venues are packed, spread the word. It's a really nice group.
And luckily, each of our study selection panel members has volunteered to be sort of like a community liaison. So you're with Anna Maria Hernando, I think.
I forgot.
Yeah, I think you're Anna Maria Hernando, the
Okay.
first one. But yeah, each of our selection panels is kind of offered to like meet them for dinner or take them for a beer, show them around, kind of, just be there to answer any questions about Boulder. So that's nice too. But yeah, please tell your friends and family and please come to these lectures. Any other questions or comments?
I think just about,
Sure.
just about the mural project.
Yeah.
I have a child in Southern Hills, and I know Fairview has a couple of kids who are really interested in murals and things. Is that something to get some of the high schools and middle school kids involved? And
We're still working on the details for the workshop, which will likely happen at the library as well. And then the wall, we've kind of narrowed it down to a couple different walls. It'll likely be like an RSVP, kind of first come, first serve, like sign up to be at the lectures are kind of open to the public. I don't think you need to RSVP, but for the workshops, there'll be an RSVP.
Right.
So
it's going to be open to kids and.
Yeah. It's all ages friendly. So we will, when we have those, that's the last one in September, but we'll send out in our e-newsletter, invite, announcing everything. So just be sure to watch that or visit our website.
How many people can these events accommodate?
The Canyon Auditorium, I think, can hold 100 up to 150 people. The Sunrise Amphitheater can hold up to 100. So so again, I think those will just be kind of open to the public and just show up. Whereas the workshop, I think it's going to be limited to like 20.
Thank you. I'm ready for a motion.
No, there's no motion.
Do we have a motion? Okay.
Just okay.
Approved. Hooray.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Rachel. Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you.
All right, matters from staff.
Someone else because I'm.
More staff matters.
Starting with the artist census update.
Pull this all up and then I close my computer and walk over here. All right, hi. We conducted an artist census, and so I'm gonna tell you about what we found. First, you might, ask, sorry, I'm clicking through thinking that I'm. What is the artist census? Well, it's a study that we conduct through the Office of Arts and Culture. There was originally an artist census conducted in 2017. And the kind of research and stuff around that lasted a couple of years. And we revisited it again in 2024 and have plans to revisit it every 5 or so years to compare data across the different times that we conduct it. The census combines data collected from the questionnaire that we made available to the public. We also held focus groups and then did some research into comparative data from different communities, from different studies that have been done through all kinds of stuff, lots of research. And why do we call it a census? Well, it started out as there was an effort to follow the US Census questions for a portion of it. So we're asking the same kinds of questions specifically of creatives in our community that they asked in the census. And then we add some that are additional questions that we have a desire to know more about. So next, who participated? These people. Like I mentioned, we had 326 creatives who either live and work and or work in the Boulder area, completed the questionnaire that we made public from the spring through the end of 2024. And we had about 38 artists participate in our 4 focus groups. We had specific focus groups that we wanted to reach specific audiences. So we had like a focus group for people who are newer to Boulder. And then after we had 3 focus groups, we realized that there were a lot of visual artists. So then we held a special focus group for performing artists so we could make sure that we gathered their feedback. So this is some of the questionnaire respondents. Females are more likely to complete a questionnaire. So I just want to, like, when we look at this data, it's the people who completed the questionnaire, which gives us a glimpse of what the artist community may be, but also it is, like, keep in mind, it is the people who completed the questionnaire. It's not the artists, all of the artists in Boulder. But comparing this to the people who participated in 2017, all of the age segments increased except for 55 to 64, which decreased from 32% of respondents in 2017 to only 17% in 2024. So we got a lot more younger people, and we also got a bunch more 65 and over. So that could mean that we reached more people in different, age groups. It could also mean that those people that were 55 to 64 aged up, and or the statistics show that the population of Boulder is aging in general. So there's also that. We also had more diversity in gender, surprisingly. We had 69% female the last time this was conducted in 2017, and a lot more people self-identified as transgender and non-conforming or non-binary this time around, which could mean that there are more people identifying as in those categories, or that we just happen to reach people in those categories. This shows a high education level. There's a lot of people in town, 70 some odd %, who have bachelor's degree and above, who responded. And interestingly,
higher education did not have any correlation to higher income. In fact, those with master's degrees in this group reported less earned income from their art on average than those with just a high school diploma. Interesting.
Plus loans.
Huh?
Plus loans.
Plus loans, yeah, then there's that. Some more who participated on the next slide shows what was their discipline. Big chunk of it was visual arts. And a lot of we had categories, specific categories, and then there was also an option for people to fill out other. One of those categories, I believe, was functional art that a lot of people self-describe themselves as. And I had somebody say, well, what is that? And it's like people who make art that we use, like pottery or woodworking. Some of those people would self-identify themselves as a functional artist. Some of them would say, I'm a woodworker, or some of them would say, I'm a ceramic/sculptor. So what I did for the sake of kind of looking them in tranches of like areas of artists based on what they need, combined them for the final report into like visual artists would include functional art, photography, jewelry design, ceramics, and sculpture. Simply because those people need specific things that are different than other categories like music, dance, theater, which I clumped together in performing arts. And then some other just kind of like chunks that have very small representation in this group, but have different needs. Oh, did I have education on there twice? I did, look at that. And there's a lot of people that completed this that have been making art professionally for over 10 years, over half. So a lot of experience, kind of evenly dispersed when they describe their career phase. Interestingly. All right. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm just wondering if people who've been practicing for 10 years or more are more willing to self-identify as professional artists. They've had more experience, like making money doing their art.
Yes.
Than
Yeah.
22 and I'd be like, well, yeah, I mean, I make jewelry, but I'm not art.
Yes, and that's a whole other thing, like trying to get people to complete, like I was out spreading the word about filling out the questionnaire, and I'm like, are you an artist? And fill this out, and somebody's like, well, if you change your definition of an artist, I'm like, you don't know my definition of an artist. I'm like, maybe you need to change your definition. But and I also had some people say, I'm not an artist, I'm a dancer. I'm like, fill this out.
Tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
The next census.
Yeah.
The next census.
Well, every time we do this, like I looked at the questions we did in 2017 and I added some few and tweaked a couple. And then after this, I'm like, oh, that one I should have tweaked in a different way. And maybe we should add, other categories. So I have some plans for discipline identification next time that will be more like the big tranches. And then out of those, a new menu pops up and you get to choose all the other little things within that kind of fit. So. Yeah.
Fabrication feels like another way to classify the sculptural.
Yeah.
Functional and differentiate from the visual, which I think tattoo could fit into, and they're all like illustration.
Yeah.
Painting.
Yeah, and there's like a lot of people who would say, I'm not a visual artist, I'm more of a studio artist. And I'm like, well, you make visual art in a studio. And so it's potato. I have my beliefs, that don't matter.
Change your definition.
Yeah. Could change my definition. So 3 key themes kind of arose out of the census. We're calling it the 2025 census because I'm reporting it in 2025. We gathered a lot of information in 2024, compiled it in 2025. So maybe 2024, 2025 census. I don't know. We keep going back and forth because the one before was like 2017 to 2019. But whatever, that doesn't really matter. The key themes were very similar to themes from the 2017-2019 census, including financial strain of being a professional artist, the high cost of living and space in Boulder, and the view of Boulder as an art city. So I'm gonna go into depth on each one of these.
Oh, can you say more about the view of Boulder as an art city?
I'm gonna
You're
dive
gonna-
deeper into each one, but yeah, like. Boulder being seen as the art city that it is, kind of. So financial realities. This is an interesting chart that compares the two censi, if you will. Sorry. It was interesting looking at just like, because we had the different categories, like what is your household income? And it was like, 25K and below, 25 to 50 and all this stuff. And then comparing that to 2017, and I'm like, oh, this looks pretty good. And then I started adjusting for inflation. So more people reported a household income that qualifies as under the minimum living wage in 2024 than in 2017. About the same amount said they need other income source besides art, which could mean they had to have a second job, which actually meant that for most of them. But a lot of them also had a partner who also works, not necessarily making big bucks, but multiple incomes. Yeah. The median household income of respondents, those are not factored for inflation. Those were the numbers. And so down underneath, I put a spotlight on our bright spot. So even though we had more people making under minimum living wage, we also had more people making more money as a household. So that may also reflect the just ongoing thing that's happening in this country of wider gaps. Standard deviation of over 63K. So there's just a really large gap between the highest and lowest incomes in this group. With incomes like really dispersed around the middle. Median household income, the median household income. The median household income was the one that had the $10,000 difference, adjusted for inflation over 2017. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I feel like I messed that up. Okay. Homeownership went down, and this doesn't show it, but it went down, especially for younger respondents compared to 2017. More financial realities. These were some new questions that we added that we didn't have on the 2017 version. Have financial challenges caused you to go without following basic needs over the last year? And so that shows 26% of the respondents said yes. And those were the different categories that they cited, medical care being the biggest portion of that. And debt-related financial circumstances. I was very surprised at the purple section. I have no debt. It's people answering this themselves. So some people don't consider like a mortgage debt. I don't know. So, but I included that just in case there was some weird outliers, and there were 29% of those people who said I had no debt, but also a whole lot of people in the top 3 categories that are having trouble paying debt, or it's difficult for them to pay back. So there's that. And if you have questions along the way, please feel free. These are just some feedback from the focus groups that we held. Most of them, for most of them, the idea of achieving a sustainable living as an artist seems almost unattainable. And just watching something recently, I think it was like 10% of people who graduate with an arts degree will be able to make a living making art, and those are people with specific arts degrees. So it's not just a Boulder. I don't know if that's scientific. I just heard it somewhere. Yeah, and for most, being a thriving artist would mean that they wouldn't have to juggle multiple jobs. There were a lot of people who were like, yeah, if I could just make art, I would be so amazing, or, like I could be so like productive and all that stuff. So yeah, having to have a part-time job limits what you can accomplish, and artists really like the idea of funding that supports their ongoing work, live workspaces, professional growth, not just one-off projects. Next up, the struggle for space. Yeah, PowerPoint wants me to make workspace one word. A lot of people don't pay studio rent. A lot of people that filled out the questionnaire don't pay studio rent because they either have a studio or workspace that they use in their home, or they don't have a regular space to practice. And a small portion of them live in their studio / workspace. Next up, this is feedback from the focus group. It's like the ongoing overwhelming challenge for artists. It's kind of like an ongoing thing for everybody in Boulder. The cost of space here is not inexpensive. And it was especially discouraging. Many of them in the focus groups mentioned, all of this vacant space, and why can't it be used for something instead of just sitting vacant? Affordable space is non-existent. These are quotes, and we need designated live workspaces for artists is one thing somebody said. And there was a common theme that people are moving out of the city to find affordable housing. There was slightly more people in this group than the 2017 group who don't live in the city of Boulder, but a lot of them in the focus groups mentioned that they no longer see Boulder as their place. They're more like Denver Metro or Front Range because they can't live and or make a full living doing their art in this city. The final point that was brought up is public perception and community support. So this is the search for a connected art space. Artists, this was brought up several times in the focus groups, and then we didn't really have a question that led to this in the questionnaire. But we did see in the blueprint study that we're conducting that like the idea of an arts hub or a centralized resource, whether it's a website or a space or whatever, for events, opportunities, peer networking and support. That was something that came up a lot in here. Awareness of opportunities were the number one top barrier to participate in the arts and cultural opportunities. And this was completed by just people, anybody who consumes and or makes art, as opposed to these are people who make art. So they agree on that they would like to see more of that. And they have this idea of an arts ambassadors and more cross-pollination, a network of people who can connect neighborhoods and cross-disciplinary collaboration, disciplines, sorry. All right, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes to make sure I hit everything. Yeah, many of the artists, and especially those newer to the community, said that they didn't feel well informed, or they didn't know where to go for information about the arts. And so, but another bright spot, existing spaces like Novo Arts District, the new local Spark and Roots Music Project were specifically mentioned, as was the Dairy. They were highlighted as promising examples of current hubs of art, and they were like, yeah, we should do more. Like, it would be great if those places could be more, become like fully sustainable or become known beyond the local arts community. And then that was echoed in these quotes, just that, there are really interesting pockets that only artists know about. And how cool would it be if we could celebrate found spaces that we can activate? And then for for this concept, the public perception and community support, I did a lot of research into what other places are doing. Interestingly, when you Google like communities that do a good job supporting the arts with grants and stuff, like one of the top hits is Boulder. Like maybe that's because I'm here and I don't know. Does Google know me? They look, they see me. I don't know. But yeah, there's that. But some of these were brought up by people in focus groups. And a lot of times there was somebody who were, you know, there were some people who were like, you know, they're doing this thing in San Francisco and it's so great. And every artist gets to live off of the government supports all of their artists. And I'm like, well, let me look into that. And it's like 150 out of, you know, 3,500 applicants got a living wage from the city. So there's a lot of things that people say are really great that other places are doing, and they might not have all of the information. And so I wanted to gather more information around those things. Austin, Asheville, and Santa Fe kind of popped out as really exciting places that have exciting arts kind of perception, I guess. And so like Austin has, they really support their, they have several cultural districts. They support those through not necessarily funding, although they do give them some funding, but they do like, they support them through community engagement, organizational development, strategic planning, connecting to additional city resources. And they also have grants for individual artists, which was brought up a couple of times in the focus groups. Asheville River Arts District, that's what this photo is. And it's really awesome. It sounds really awesome. I want to go visit. I haven't been there. They offer affordable studio space and resources for artists. The city helped in redeveloping this area, which was a blight and nobody wanted to be there and it was abandoned, which we don't really have a whole lot of those spaces in Boulder. But, you know, city did like infrastructure zoning adjustments, transportation improvements. And they also have a really cool craft futures cohort, which is a thing that's it's a cohort that's a 6-month experience to support building their somebody's artistic practice. They participate in a group exhibition. They have like education around being an artist, and they all get a $10,000 grant each to continue their work, which I thought was really cool. Final takeaways are that we're awesome, but it's hard. There is affordability, which is like the common thing that comes up anytime you talk to anybody in Boulder about anything. And especially artists, just because it's difficult to make a living as an artist. Artists are interested in connection, streamlined support, and civic recognition. They did express feeling isolated and siloed by discipline. They really like the idea of shared spaces, peer-to-peer support, and some kind of central hub for networking and visibility. And a quote, "The city needs to incentivize businesses to collaborate." People, and so well, I'll get to it in the next slide. So the cities like Austin, Asheville, and Santa Fe, they've built these thriving ecosystems by actively involving not only the government, but also like private businesses, tourism and economic development agencies, and local philanthropy. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about the city thing. Like the city should, and I'm like, yeah, the city should do what the city can do. And there's a lot of other institutions that can also help. So next steps are, okay, what does this all mean? Basically, the reason that we did this study is recognition or confirmation of the struggles that artists experienced, to compare it to the data that we collected before to see how we're doing. And there were some positives and then some places where we could do better. Hoping that there will, this will provide insights to inform the development. Well, yes, this does provide insights to inform the development of the Boulder Arts Blueprint. But and we're hoping that it helps to spark engagement across, like I said, government, us, different departments in the government, business organizations, philanthropists, et cetera. Just letting people know like how our creative industry is living in our community. And I also listed a couple of things that we're working on that we're ramping up that are constantly like, we're looking at to reevaluate and make sure that we're meeting the needs of the public, which we're also talking about in the blueprint. We have our grants program. It's amazing. It's Google top search response. We started holding artist meetups again. We used to do those and then COVID and then we didn't for a while. So now we have these regular opportunities for artists to gather and create community, which I brought up in all of our focus groups. And a lot of them were like, oh yes, that's what I would love to do that. Let's like, tell me when. We have our cultural organization summits where it's like an opportunity for the organizations that do art and culture in our community to gather and talk to each other. Boulder Arts Week is something that I think could be expanded to meet some of these needs for like ramping us up as an arts town. And then I just threw in there right at the end, I'm like, community assembly. We're doing that. Like one of the suggestions was like, we need to include art in city government. And I'm like, funny you should say that. I have this guy you should talk to, Brendan. He's doing this thing with public art. Anyway, so yeah, some things that we're starting to do, some things that we're continuing to do and ramping up, and some things that may come out of this that, you know, end up on the blueprint that are even better to meet the community's needs. Any questions? I talked a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
Where and to whom is this going to be published? Like this portion? Now, I understand it's going to feed into the Boulder, the arts blueprint, but is.
So I don't know what we're going to do with this slideshow. We can certainly put this up there, but I have a whole. Well, it includes a lot of appendices, but a 53-page report that goes way more into detail that I think we shared with them in the packet. Did we?
No.
Okay, but that will go up on our website. Like you saw at the beginning of the meeting, there was a dance that we commissioned for this. So we commissioned a couple of different artists to create art that spoke to their experience as a creative in our community. So we have a couple of pieces of art that will go into this, and they're not all totally done yet. So the final report has all of the content, and then we're just going to make it really pretty and put it on our website, share it with the rest of the city departments. I personally will be doing some more engagement work for Office of Arts and Culture, and this will be something that I have with me in my back pocket to share with people and tell them to go look at it. I would love to share it with, like, we're going to share it with all of our partners, like Downtown Boulder Partnership, and share it with your people. And
I would love for city council to see like even just the PowerPoint takeaways, you know?
Yeah, I'll send it to them.
Say the same thing to them every year.
No.
But, you know, why not say it again with
After it's
some
published.
pictures? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, but in summary, so that they can.
totally.
I have a few questions.
Yeah.
So does the term census turn some people off from actually even filling it out? So,
Possibly.
especially in.
Words matter.
Right, the words matter, and especially with folks that don't want to, whatever, admit that they're maybe an immigrant or a migrant or.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
So you're already maybe narrowing your pool, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then I guess, I hear what you said at the beginning too, and I just wonder about, I think I ran this by Matt once about using creative instead of artists, but.
Yes.
So just broaden that in the term.
I started doing that after I got some feedback. I'm an artist, I'm a dancer, or.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I started, and some of our flyers said creatives instead of artists, and one of the first questions was do you consider yourself an artist? Might have been artist, or might have been.
And I think
creative.
even more broad would be individual creative or running a creative business. Because you may be missing all the creative businesses. You know, someone might be like, oh, well, I have
whatever.
Graphic design.
Or what's that?
Graphic design.
Yeah, I might be a graphic designer, but I'm not an artist, but they are, they are artistic and they're running a creative business, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Just kind of reframing it next time. to do
totally.
this.
Yeah.
Cause I think that it just, what you showed in the age and the demographics look like maybe you're hitting a certain target, but not everybody. But the outcome doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
About, how spaces are expensive and hard to make a living and.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had some comments and some questions.
Yeah.
One is, it's been my personal experience that people ask for meetups and networking and then
Don't
don't
show
show
up.
up.
Yeah.
So, there has to be, I think people are like, I want to meet people. And then they don't show up. There are
Yes.
some organizations in Boulder that do a really good job of doing these meetups. Is that coffee in the morning or something like that?
Yeah,
Which is once a month.
the
What is it called?
CMCI thing.
Caffeinated mornings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it seems like the theme to make the sort of the necessary step to make something like this work apart from a venue is to have a speaker or somebody who
Yes.
is going to be that draw and sort of 10 people standing in a room trying to make small talk.
Right, and with our artist meetups, we always have a topic that is of interest to artists. We have told people like, what do you want to learn about? What do you want to hear about? And I've described it to those speakers, like this is the excuse to get people to come and chat. And we definitely, like what you're saying is very important, but it also is very important for the people that show up to just kind of like mingle and chat with each other and stuff. So this could be like the reason to start a conversation. But yeah, we look for topics and locations. We were having them at a regular location, which was an awesome location. And then we started thinking, well, let's go to where the artists are. So we're kind of bouncing around now, like doing some in North Boulder. We did one at the new local that was really positive. We got a lot of response and attendance at that one. But yes, it just having like a, hey, let's gather and be artists.
Sorry, just tagging onto that, I don't know if it's on your radar at all, but the Big Dream just had a networking for the
Yes,
and it was amazing. It was
I-
such a great.
I
training.
emailed that woman and I'm like, let's talk.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Great.
she's on my radar.
Good.
That sounded amazing
It was
and
really good.
I was bummed that I missed it. My daughter was performing something, whatever, kids. She was amazing.
Dante.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, one of my favorite things that they've started at Dairy is a movie club, which has been a really fun way to get people to show up, and they do pizza, which is included in your ticket. And I know that the Dairy has like super discounted nonprofit rates, so if there's an organization that wants to host a movie night for artists where they watch a punk movie about punk art or like, I don't know, like something else, I'm sure that the Dairy will be willing to find a suitable rate that works for everybody and have pizza and like make it. This is a good way to engage, philanthropists and donors within the community to be like, would you want to sponsor this thing? So there's a purpose for them to show up and,
Right.
and there's food and it becomes an evening as opposed to like, an hour without anything to do.
Yeah, we always see them.
Yeah. It's just, I'm
It's
just putting it out
necessary.
there.
No. Yeah, that sounds like fun. I want to go hang out at the Dairy Center and I'm all about like finding really good ideas and repurposing them for our purposes. Yes.
Just a comment, and I don't know the answer to this, but is there any space to include the administrators in here? Because administrators aren't having an easy time making a living either, and they have thoughts on venues. I just think there's a good perspective with people, there obviously are lovers.
Yeah,
No one gets into arts administration for the cash, so.
no, exactly. We do, on the specific topic of venues and spaces for artists and organizations, we're doing I'm doing a research project into that as well, and I have a questionnaire that's currently open that I think 8 people have completed, that's like venue utilizers. And I haven't done the best job of pushing it. because they're all saying all the things that we already know. Yeah, so that's a place definitely where we want the feedback, and whenever I talk to somebody, especially if they're talking to me about space, I'm like, fill this out so that I can show it to the people and say, see. But yeah,
And then my one other thought is that it just might be interesting to drill down, like, which of those problems are problems of artists and which of those problems are problems of Boulder artists?
yeah,
Because like, it's hard to make a living in a lot of places. It's especially hard to make a living here because everything's so expensive. but-
right. And in the report, in the 53-page report, I do talk about, there's been vaguely similar studies in other places, like Los Angeles did an artist census, it was all visual artists. And, you know, it was a lot of the same stuff, like it's hard to make a living as an artist and, you know, all the same
I
things.
wanna meet people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's mentioned in the study, like this is, yes, a part of being an artist, but we're also very special because we live in Boulder.
Yeah, just like, I'm sorry, just the part about people like no longer identifying as Boulder artists, they're identifying
Right.
differently. But like, it's not super cheap to live in Denver, people,
No,
like, you know. It's not like you get 5 minutes outside of the city of Boulder and suddenly it's like
right,
$200 a month rent.
yeah, exactly.
But, yeah.
There's a new venue that opened up on Eastboro, Top Hat Supply for Journey.
Oh, yeah,
Which is a fun place, should be really fun place for artists to gather and
yes,
show and things, and I'm sure the founder of that nonprofit is really eager to get involved with the community.
yeah. I popped in there the other day, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Just something to keep in mind, and I know Lorena have just
Oh.
if she wanna do something, host something,
Cool.
she'll be like.
Yeah, they have some fun little space, little nooks
Yeah,
in
they
there.
have little nooks in there, they have a listening room. They have some fun stuff in there.
Oh, we'll have to do it a meetup time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For 10 people, at least.
Yeah.
10 people minimum.
Jill, did you have something?
I was just curious what Austin's budget was for grants and
Oh.
found it interesting that they have a hotel occupancy tax, which I would not be surprised is related to a
Right.
festival that happens there that brings in a whole bunch of people.
Right.
And so they.
Oh, we can get something like that.
Yes.
Festival.
27 million a year from this hotel occupancy tax.
Yeah, and so, Austin is a much larger city than us.
Yeah.
B, I did see that. And, but we have our own special tax too. Yeah,
We
Do you
also have four
Oh, do we?
yeah, it goes to the Convention of Visitors Bureau. And they use that, they make grants for
the
cultural
visit-
events.
visits, yeah.
Yeah, so they do, that does go back to the community.
They do bids.
Not all of it.
Festival.
I mean, it goes back to the community in that they are there to promote all that stuff and Boulder in general, but yeah, they do
Just
some grant
room to
making too.
increase the tax, like 1 week a year.
Yeah.
I don't know, like.
Well, that's a whole other thing. Yeah. Yeah, so as far as like Austin is so great. They have all this, they have really cool things happening there. I'm like, guess what? Us too. I mean, we've always had really cool things. Now it's like,
I was tuning out with Texas.
yeah, yes, good point. Any other questions, comments?
I think that was one of the things in the blueprint too that showed how Boulder, for being so small, it's actually,
We hit way above our,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually doing really well.
Yeah.
Sort of helping artists under the grants and.
and I mean, I like to joke about it, that we think we're very special in Boulder. And then I talk to some people who are in other communities and they're like, wow, you guys, that is special. We're special in a lot of different special ways.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm noticing we have about 12 minutes
Oh,
left
sorry.
in our meeting, so,
Yeah.
and did you incorporate in the Boulder? Arts
Oh, yeah,
Program?
it's on there. I just have a quick update on Boulder Arts Week that ended on April 12th. I got some participant feedback, so I sent a survey out or a questionnaire out to, organizations and artists who held events, during the week. And on our calendar, there were over 200 occurrences of events, so that means that like some events were like a thing that happened every day. So those were the individual occurrences. And we had all kinds of stuff, visual and studio arts, music, dance, film, theater, poetry, inclusive arts workshops, culinary arts. We added that this year as an option. So that will be exciting to grow, and I would love to see some collaboration among different artists, and food people too. Most people who responded said they had between 10 and 150 attendees, so all over the place. We had some like really intimate gatherings and other big stuff that was crazy. First Friday was crazy, even though it was like that crazy snowstorm that I was like, oh, weather. But it was wild on First Friday. I was out, Lauren was out, and it was like there was a lot of cars parked in places, but I didn't see people. And then you open the door and you're like, there's all the people. Most respondents agreed or strongly agreed that their events brought in new participants because of Boulder Arts Week. So that was really exciting. I don't know what that little thing is doing at the end of the sentence. It was a copy and paste mistake. And most of them also agreed that Boulder Arts Week boosted visibility for both their individual events and Boulder art scene overall. There were some artists, mostly those who were newer, who were like, you should have like slots because there was too much stuff going on First Friday, which First Friday had a ton of stuff and you couldn't go to all of it. But that's just what makes it so exciting. So, and also they wanted more individual event promotion, and there are some ways that we can definitely do that. Here's just some fun photos of things that happened during Boulder Arts Week. One of the exciting things we did this year is we created, it's Lauren's brainchild, the Boulder Arts Week awards. So the press release is going out on Friday, so you'll know then. No, I'm kidding. Lauren said I could tell you. Don't tell anybody. She promised me that nobody was gonna watch this before Friday. We had 5 awards that are that we awarded. One of them was a People's Choice Award. And so voting was open during Boulder Arts Week for, it was like, tell us your favorite event of the week. And so the winner of that was Blue John Cabaret, which is so much fun. We had a business champion award that 2 businesses were co-nominated that were holding a contest, a sandwich contest. And their funds raised through sales of the sandwiches went to Biff and Museum of Boulder. And in addition, they're just supporters of Boulder Arts Week, like since the beginning, Lindsay's Deli and Organic Sandwich Company. So they get to co-win that award. Oh, I gotta get another thing made. Because we had a local glass artist make really cool glass vessels for their prize, their trophy. What are the other awards? Innovation, Anna, that I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She does this, she's working on this thing at Brownworks Arts Lab where thank you. She is making visual art accessible to the visually impaired. Or art making, so doing some really cool stuff with feeling things and using your other senses. Yeah, so we have, each one will be original, but same kind of idea, same color scheme. Made by local artist Aaron Dykman. And Artivist Award is going to Modus Theater. And then a student award, an award to get people engaged from the local colleges. And there's this filmmaker who's getting his PhD at CU who really impressed everybody. And I can't remember his name. Jean-Jacques Martineau. That was it. So I'm gonna tell them tomorrow, and then the press release goes out on Friday. So don't tell anybody. You need it.
And thank you to Yulade and.
Oh, yes,
Caroline for being on.
Yulade and Caroline, awesome. Thank you for
For being
serving on
our
the panel to help choose those awardees.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And we, in the 6 minutes that we have left, did you want to talk about Sundance? Who's gonna lead that
Please.
I can be very
discussion?
fast,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah, thank you, Cindy.
Well, I mean, I can be very fast because we're still kind of folding, to be totally frank. So, as Cheryl mentioned, it was a massive collaboration. I mean, there were like tens and tens of people involved in getting it to come to Boulder, the bid. I mean, like statewide, countywide. It was incredible, really. I think a remarkable action by a big group of people. We are waiting for the contract, to be totally honest, to see how things are gonna play out in the city. I will say that I was looking at my notes and from our, like, just some of the information about it. Last year, they had over 72,000 attendees and it created 1,700 jobs, 13.8 million in revenue. And looking at our recent research with the Arts and Economic Prosperity study, it like our arts community, the ones that we studied with the nonprofit research that we did, it was about 2,100 jobs. So we're looking at an organization that is like 80%, 90% the size of our arts community for some scale. Like that really impacts how I'm considering it, right? It's going to have a big impact on like how our organizations and our venues are functioning here, I think. Man, would you like to add anything? It's exciting.
I think,
It's super cool. Yeah.
I think some interesting things about the discussions that are happening now that are sort of preliminary, but as things gel, is like over the next 18 months before the first festival in Boulder. They're looking at venues and trying to sort out exactly how it's going to be structured. They are talking about, as was alluded to, that they'd like to install Dolby systems in every single venue. So there's like investment that they want. They also are looking for office space. The city is trying to actively search for ways that we can provide them with some office space. I'm not sure how it's going to play out. You think so? But yeah, the workforce impacts, the economic impacts, all great, but they also are talking very seriously about deep collaboration. They're working with state and city and the city of Denver on what this means for Fifth and for the Denver Film Festival, wanting to partner with small nonprofits and artists and integrate themselves into this community authentically.
And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can be good partners. So, I think there's still a lot to decide. They're gonna have a big impact on venues. It's gonna be 70,000 people who become on Boulder. That's a transportation issue. That's a hotel issue. It's going to be hotels build up from here to Denver. So that's something that we're trying to help sort out. So there's gonna be a lot of work to do, but Lauren will figure it out. So.
Happily.
yeah, I think Charlene let the whole staff go, so she said you were on it.
Yeah. I felt that. Did you have anything to add actually from your?
Well, first of all, I said that Charlene and Visit Boulder did it. I didn't mean to make it sound like they did it all by themselves. I just mean they were
Okay.
spearheading the process
And they did so.
You didn't make it
It's
sound
really
like that.
iconic.
Okay.
No, yeah.
And Jeffrey was like, no, but they did a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
They, yes, and she, I guess there was, after they spoke to her, they said, well, we need to go now because we have to go to the governor. That Charlene
Knew before.
Mhm.
very gratifying for her, I think. Yeah, and just like, I guess the city's thinking about other alternative options for accommodation, that would be just very short term. So start pleading.
Right,
Right.
but you have to find a place for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot. And they also are already like starting, some of their staff are asking about like schools and neighborhoods and so, I said, I'm happy to be a resource for anyone who thinks of elementary school, So it's just even like connecting people, just on those very basic things, because if their staff is happy, then, they want people to want to come.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any questions about the manager? All right, we're adjourned.
Thanks for letting me yap so much. That was a lot of words.